So lately I've really been having a craving for Jamaican food, so I decided to make some Jamaican patties. For my patties, I use beef, but you can feel free to sub out chicken, ground turkey, or even pork. These are all the ingredients you're going to need for your meat filling, so stock up and let's get rolling, baby. Step one, you want to dice up your onion. So take your knife through horizontally and vertically, and then just rock it back and forth until you have relatively small pieces. If you're new to the kitchen, take your time. You don't have to rush or anything. Just get acquainted with your knife. We're gonna do the same process with our garlic, but first I like to remove the little brown root end because it tends to be a little bit bitter. Then just rock your knife back and forth through the garlic until you have really fine chops. This is called a mince. Now after you have all of your aromatics cut up, you're gonna get ready to sweat them. Sweating is a process used in culinary, basically where you put in aromatics and you draw the moisture out. Another thing that you can do to help draw out the moisture is add a little bit of salt. And after you've added the salt, go ahead and add the garlic as well. Sweat this for about 2 minutes and then push everything to one side of your pot and get ready to add the meat, baby. Now, once you add the meat in there, I'm just going to use a potato masher here to kind of break everything up because you don't want huge chunks in your beef patty. That's not a good look. So just kind of break everything up and get ready to add your spices. Now for the spices, you really want to take your time with this. You want it to be authentic. So take your time in the grocery store and make sure you get everything that you need. If you want your meat to be a little bit spicier, you can feel free to add in a Scotch bonnet pepper or a habanero. Now simmer this on the stove for about 20 minutes until the meat is tender and the sauce is pretty thick, and let it cool down. Now here I'm adding some thyme. I'm adding the leaves, but you can also add the sprigs. Just be sure to remove them at the end of the cooking process. So now we're ready to make our crust. These are all the ingredients that you're going to need to make your crust. So first what you want to do is dice up your butter into cubes about this size. After you're done dicing up your butter, make sure you put it in the refrigerator so it can remain cold, and get ready to measure out your dry ingredients. So we're just going to need 2 cups of AP flour, which is all-purpose flour. We're going to need 1 teaspoon of salt and then some turmeric powder. If you can't find turmeric powder in the grocery store, you can use the curry powder that you used earlier in your meat filling. Just make sure it has a turmeric base. The more turmeric powder you add to the flour, the more yellow the crust is going to be. So you can add more or less depending on your preference. Now add your cold butter into the flour, and with your hands, rub them together until the flour and the butter is about the size of chickpeas. Now after that, you want to add ice cold water, half a cup, to your flour and butter mixture, and add this until your dough comes all together. This is what we call a shaggy mess. Now flour your surface lightly and dump your dough onto the counter. Now with the heel of your hand, you want to rub across the dough back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the dough forms a ball. And you can kind of gather up the rest of the crumbs and press them into the dough, like so. Now I rolled out a little bit of the dough, and I'm using a Tupperware container to get the shape that I want, and I'm rolling it out a little bit further. I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of the cooled meat mixture into the dough. And you want to leave the edge around free so that you can seal it properly. So just fold it over. You can use egg wash to secure it, but I'm just going to use my fingers to press it down and a fork to crimp the edges as well. Make sure it's all sealed completely. And that's it. Just repeat and continue until you've made all of your Jamaican beef patties. So this is the finished plate. I made some jerk chicken, plantains, rice and peas, cabbage, carrots, and of course the finished Jamaican patties. Enjoy, guys.